Welcome to Cal Talks. This is Marcelo Wallau, Forage Extension Specialist with the University of Florida. And this is our podcast, where we dive into the main topics affecting livestock and forage production in the southeastern United States. Join us in this journey as we tackle the main issues affecting our producers and the sustainability of our production systems. Today, we're continuing our series in Integrated Crop-Livestock System, a project partially sponsored by the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, Office of Agricultural Water Policy. In this project, our goal is to understand the opportunities and challenges of integrating cattle into cropping systems, and to devise strategies to help our stakeholders implement more sustainable agricultural practices. My guest today is Stephen Smith, Chief of Field Services with FDACS OAWP. Steve, thanks for joining the podcast today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Let's start a little bit more with a little bit of background information. What is, we all know FDACS, what is the Office of Water Policy, and what is the role you play as a Chief of Field Services with FDACS?
Yeah, so as Chief of Field Services, we have a staff that's out in the all across the state of Florida that helps implement our best management practices. The mission of the Office of Ag Water Policy is simply to implement these strategies, these BMPs that protect Florida's resources and at the same time are promoting the sustainability of agriculture. So at the Office of Ag Water Policy, we work with producers to show them how they can implement these strategies that protect the resources and at the same time should be economically sustainable for them as well. And that's for all commodities. There's a manual for each commodity, whether it's vegetables or citrus or cattle or what have you. Each commodity has its own manual, and those BMPs are listed in that manual. And if a producer enrolls, then they agree to implement those strategies.
So, a lot of people think about the BMPs, the best management practices, as something it's imposed on you to do and you have to do it and it's going to be detrimental for the farm and it's going to change my way. But what are really those best management practices? And you can bring some examples here for the livestock and crop world.
Sure, manual. Probably the best thing to do. There's one for the cattle operation, and in each manual, there's what we call the checklist, which is a list of practices that the producers agree to follow, and they can go in there and look at those. They can read them. These manuals are available online on our website, and it's broken down into kind of three big categories. And the first one is nutrient management, which is where you get into what we call the 4 Rs. A lot of people are familiar with that: the right source, the right rate, the right time, and the right place, which is all about applying fertilizer, making sure that you're using the right type of fertilizer and the right rate, whether it's IFAS rates or another source, and utilizing soil tests, tissue tests, things like that to make sure that you're putting the right amount of fertilizer out and you're putting it out at the right time of year. And the application process as well is important, assuring that the equipment is calibrated properly. And these are things that a producer would want to do anyway, because fertilizer is very expensive, and the last thing they want to do is put out more than they need to put out. So they're kind of common sense practices, frankly, when it comes to the nutrient management side of things. And then on the irrigation management side, it's similar, because nutrients are carried with water. So anything you can do to create a good, efficient irrigation practice is going to help with nutrient management. And that can be utilizing timers or computerized irrigation systems, in vegetable crops or citrus crops and things like that, that place the irrigation water at the right time, and then also utilizing low volume precision irrigation methods as well. And we also have what we call our mobile irrigation lab as part of the Office of Ag Water Policy. We have a team of folks around the state of Florida that can go to the irrigation systems that the producers own and evaluate that system and let them know where some issues may be, some inefficiencies, some pressure problems, some clogs, what have you, that can make that system more efficient, which at the same time saves the producer money, because they, hopefully can and water less, saving them, fuel, energy costs, and also use less water.
So, if we can summarize here, those BMPs are simply basic practices that most of us should be doing because that's how we can improve the efficiency of our systems and save money.
That's it.
S-
That's exactly it.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. And we rewrote all of the BMP manuals last year and simplified them considerably over prior years. So the checklist is easy to find. The practices are easy, listed out. And then there's a narrative or a guidance that explains each practice and gives some additional information on how to implement them.
Yeah, and those practices are also practices that come from our, as you mentioned, IFAS handbooks, IFAS recommendations. So they are not practices that are going to be detrimental for the agricultural production.
They're all scientifically proven practices. Yeah, and IFAS is heavily involved in all of that, whether it's the recommendations for fertilizer application or irrigation management, any of that. Yeah, IFAS has been a great partner for.
So how does your office? You mentioned the mobile irrigation lab, but then how else does your office works to help the farmers implement those practices?
Well, we have a cost share program as well. When we meet with the producers, we can sit down with them and go through the checklist, and maybe there's something on there that they can add to what they're doing, whether they can add a computerized irrigation controller or they can add GIS GPS equipment to their applicators, fertilizer applicators. And there's lots of other types of equipment that we can cost share with the producer to help them purchase that equipment, so it helps their operation and helps them meet the BMPs as well.
So I have actually recently enrolled in the BMP in my
All
personal
right.
farm. And I
Great.
learned something that I didn't know about it is also related to liability because if you're enrolled in BMP, it's implied that you are indeed following good production
Compliance.
guidelines,
Uh-huh.
compliance,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah, there's the presumption of compliance that comes with being enrolled in the program, that if there's a water quality issue somewhere, that you have that protection because you're enrolled. It's required that producers are enrolled if they're within the boundary of a BMAP, a Basin Management Action Plan. Those are areas designated by DEP, boundaries within watersheds that are created to protect that watershed. If you're within inside of that boundary, and there's a lot of different BMAPs across the state of Florida. There's quite a bit of coverage. This was all part of the Florida Watershed Restoration Act, and DEP's directed to develop these restoration goals within those BMAP areas for the impaired water bodies, and they established TMDLs, total maximum daily loads, and part of the BMP program is to get to those numbers, to get within the total maximum daily load.
And here for the total maximum daily loads, we're specifically thinking about nitrogen, nitrates in the water, right?
Nitrogen and phosphorus.
Phosphorus. Phosphorus
Right.
apply for North Florida or is just South Florida?
It's all over,
All over.
but it's a bigger issue in South Florida.
Perfect. And that it ties back to nutrient use efficiency. That means if you were seeing nitrates and phosphorus in the water, that means we're losing nutrients. That means we're losing money, right? There's also there's a little bit off topic, but this concept, general concept from the uneducated public about agriculture that we just dump nutrients wherever, and actually our goal is to improve use efficiency of nutrients because we don't like to lose money, and not using them
For
efficiently means we're
yeah.
losing money.
Sure, fertilizer's very expensive. Last thing a producer wants to do is put more than is needed on. He has to look at the economics of his operation as well. So being able to utilize IFAS rates to know exactly how much they need for each crop is important. Prevents that excess nutrient runoff like you're talking about as well.
Perfect. Explain a little bit more about the B maps. You say if the farm is within those boundaries, the BMPs they
hmm
need to be enrolled, right? It's mandatory enrollment inside of those boundaries.
Right. If your farm falls within the boundaries of a BMAP, the Clean Water Act requires you to do one of two things. You can enroll in the FDACS BMP program, or you can self-monitor, create a monitoring system with some DEP guidelines. Producers pretty much all over elect to join our program, to enroll in our program. Because that, if you're inside that BMAP, the law requires you to do one of those two things. And once you're enrolled, you have to implement those applicable BMPs.
And how can people find out about those areas if they are within those boundaries or not?
Yeah, it's available on our website or DEP's website, but you can go to the Office of Ag Water Policy's website, and all that information is there.
Okay, and we'll put a link for the listeners. We'll put a link in the description of this podcast to make it simple for you
Sure.
to access and find more information about the BMAPs, best basin management action plans, and also the best management practice BMPs that are associated to those regions. Another thing that's also important to mention is we have multiple water management districts across Florida that they're independent from the work FDACS does, right? But at the same time connected because many of them would require enrollment in the BMPs to for the farmers to access the cost share programs.
Yeah, a lot of the water management district have their own cost share programs as well, and their own BMP programs. In the South Florida Water Management District and the C-139 program, things like that, that are as robust as ours, and so it qualifies them if they're following those BMPs. It qualifies for our program as well. But we work close with the water management districts to make sure that they have what they need and that we're all on the same page working together.
For those that are interested in joining the program, how do they start? How they initiate that process?
They can contact us. There's information on the website. There's an email address that they can just that's monitored every day. We look at it. So if somebody goes on there and says they're interested in enrolling in the BMP program, the person that monitors that website will distribute that email to the appropriate field staff person across the state, whether they're located in West Florida or South Florida, folks scattered across there to work with each producer. And those field staff are trained and understand the different nuances of growing whatever product they're growing, the farmers are growing in those regions, because it's a different system, different way of doing things when you compare South Florida to Central Florida to North Florida to West Florida. Florida is very diverse, a lot of different crops and a lot of different methods of producing those crops.
What about the technical support? FDX also provides technical support, or that's only with extension?
No, we work with the producers directly and with Extension as well to show them ways that they can improve their operations, whether that's through, like I said earlier, adding technology or looking at their overall property management. It could be adding culverts with riser boards, in South Florida where you have ditches and things like that, or installing a water retention area to hold water back before it's released, things like that. So we work directly with them, and then there's cost share money available to implement those.
So you have been updating and actually adding to the BMP manuals, right?
Right. We updated all the BMP manuals last year to make sure they're up to date with all the new laws and the new research as well, and to make them
Simple.
simple and easy to use. That was important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is very important. I was privy to some of the conversations. I was consulted about it, and it really makes it more simple. And when it's simple, people then decide to apply. And I think you added some new ones. I think small farm and specialty livestock was a new one that came from this last initiative, right?
We did. We added the small Florida Small Farms and Specialty Livestock Operation Manual. It's a brand new one, and that one is designed to capture those ag operations that are less than 50 acres and have multiple commodities. They may have different types of livestock and small vegetable
Mm.
operation, different things like that. They don't fit necessarily into the vegetable manual or the cattle manual or the citrus manual. It's a combination, and so that's been a nice addition to be able to get those folks enrolled that previously we weren't able to.
So we have small farms and specialty crops, specialty livestock. We have wildlife, vegetable and agronomic crops, specialty fruits and nuts, sod poultry nursery, equine dairy, beef, and citrus. So it covers pretty much the whole spectrum of agricultural commodities in Florida.
It does. Poultry, did you have that one on there?
Yeah, poultry,
Covers all
poultry
of
is
them.
here. And for those that are interested, it's just a pretty easy search, web search, BMP manuals, FDACS, and it pops up several of the manuals. And really, those manuals are very good not only to see what the BMPs are and regulations are, but also to plan your business, to plan your practices, improve. They're a good studying guide to improve some of those practices because again, all those practices are recommended by our science, are backed by our science, and are meant to improve the efficiency, productivity, and sustainability of our agricultural production. I want to talk about the other side, which is normally the side that people are afraid of, which is the legal side, the regulation side of FDACS. So, what happens when producers enroll to those BMPs? They are obligated to follow those guides, right?
Correct. Once they enroll, they're contractually obligated to follow the BMPs. If they're within the BMAP, then of course it's required. And if they just refuse, then FDACS does not have any punitive regulatory authority at that point. At that point, it's passed on to the DEP.
So there are consequences of not following that contract. What happens when a farmer, okay, let's say I really enrolled this, but I could not make it work. It's not within my capacity, investment capacity, or operational capacity, at least for the moment, to implement it. So how does that conversation goes?
Well, if they're within the BMAP, then we'll go out there and sit down with them and talk to them and walk them through it and show them ways that they can apply. I mean, we'll work with them every way we can to get them in compliance.
And for those that are not in the B map but enroll in the best management practice program.
Then it's voluntary. It's voluntary outside of the BMAP. If they do enroll, then they have to follow the practices to have that presumption of compliance or cost share eligibility if they're enrolled. But being enrolled is voluntary outside of the BMAP areas.
Perfect. That clarifies a lot, and I think many producers are afraid of the risk of the oversight of the government. We don't want the government being here, but in fact, as we repeated many times here, this is a way to improve our agricultural production and also access cost share. I mean, there is a no brainer. Thinking the environment we are, economic environment we are nowadays, any help to that we can get as producers to make it more efficient and lower cost. It is given. I'm very happy to be enrolled in our personal farm on the BMPs, both with USDA and RCS, with FDACS, and with the St. John's River Water Management District. There's a lot of support that can go to small and large farmers to be able to again improve our operation and things that we'll probably not be able to do without some of that help.
Right. Yeah. Our cost share program, is designed to support these non-point source BMP implementations and protect the water resources at the same time. So it's important, and we're here to help agriculture expand and be sustainable. Of course, recognize the environmental benefit of the land staying in agriculture. It's a huge environmental benefit to the state of Florida for the land to remain in agricultural production.
Yes, and I was just thinking about some of the, for example, the cattleman themes for the different years in the past several years have been very focused on the legacy and loyal to the land was Dale Carton's theme this past year, and all of those are tied to preserving our land and preserving our environment and leaving a good legacy for the future generations. So at the end of the day, we're on the same side here. We're all fighting for agriculture. We're all fighting for a better future for us and for our descendants. So it's great when we can merge those efforts and see like, okay, yes, FDACS is an organ of the government and is related to legislation, but we're all here trying to improve our production system and work together to improve the livelihood of our farmers in our farming community.
Yeah, that's well said. That's exactly what we're trying to do. Continue the sustainability of Florida agriculture and protect our water resources, which is our quality of life at the same time.
Perfect.
Appreciate the time and the opportunity. I would hope that anybody that watches this, feel free to reach out to us. Or call me if you want to. Everything is on our website. It's all available there. I'll be glad to work with you.
That is perfect. And yeah, we're going to put several of the links that we discussed today here in the description of this podcast so people can access that easily. And again, if there is any other questions, you also can reach out to us through forages at ifas.ufl.edu, also in the description of the podcast, and we can help connecting with FDACS. I also appreciate the Florida Department of Ag and Office of Water Policy for the support given to our research. It really helps us advancing our program, specifically the work that we have been developing the past few years to understand the motivations of people behind implementation of some of these technologies, specifically integrated crop livestock systems, which is one of the topics I'm very passionate about. Steve, thanks so much for joining us today, and I hope to see you soon and when our paths cross again.
All right. Thank you, Marcelo.
This podcast was brought to you by the University of Florida Forage Team with technical support from the University of Florida College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, Faculty Instructional Resource and Support Team. This episode was produced by Marcelo Wallau, Olivia Mowley, and Ashley Kanabrowski. We hope you have enjoyed this podcast. If you have any comments or thoughts to share with us, please reach out to us through our email, forages@ifas.ufl.edu, and find us on our social media, uf.forages on Instagram, UF Forage Team on Facebook, or UF IFAS Forages on YouTube. We hope to see you in our next episode.